My dear students, in this class we are going to discuss about the disorders of lipid metabolism and the process of atherosclerosis. Next please. Now, lipid disorders may be of two types: hyperlipidemias and hypolipidemias. So hypolipidemias are very rare and they are sometimes not symptomatic. So all the problem comes with the hyperlipidemias, and there are two types of hyperlipidemias. One may be primary, that is the endogenous cause or defects in some enzymes or receptors, and secondary as a consequence of some other disease like diabetes mellitus, hypertension, nephrotic syndrome, cholestatic, jaundice, etc. So let's first go through the primary defects of the hyperlipidemias. The Frederickson has classified it long back into different classes of hyperlipidemias: type 1, type 2A, type 2B, type 3, type 4, type 5, etc. Now, if you want to have diagnosis a type of lipid disorders, you have to first know the measurements or blood levels of different lipids or different lipoproteins like chylomicrons, like total cholesterol, triglycerides, etc. that can be made, as well as low density lipoprotein and high density lipoprotein. So that will be how these lipids are measured. That will be taken another class. So here we are going to tell you the particular type of lipoproteins, discuss particular type of lipoproteins which is altered, and what is the mechanism, what is the metabolic defect. Here type 1 here is known as familial LPL deficiency. That means lipoprotein lipase is deficient here. The enzyme is defect which is required to metabolize the lipoproteins. Here this lipoprotein is chylomicron is present here, increased, and as well as triacylglycerols. Type 2A is a familial hypercholesterolemia. Here total cholesterol and LDL both are increased, and here is defect in the LDL receptor, the ApoB100 receptor, the defect in the receptor here. Type 2B is also known as the same familial hypercholesterolemia, but here in the both LDL, VLDL as well as total cholesterol is increased, and triglycerides are also increased. There is excess of ApoB here. The ApoB100 is much more. That is a kind of defect by which the increase in the type of protein, lipids. Now, type 3 is due to abnormal ApoE. The ApoE which is required for mainly chylomicron and LDL molecule to be further internalized into the liver, taken up by the liver, is defective. Here there is variant, ApoE3 variant is present. There are different polymorphism of the ApoE, and ApoE3 polyvariants is actually associated with this type of defects where LDL, VLDL, chylomicron, others, total cholesterol as well as triglycerides all are increased, and this is known as broad beta disease. Type 3 is the broad beta disease. Now type 4 is familial hypertriglyceridemia. It is manifested as increased VLDL, total cholesterol, as well as triglyceride is increased. This overproduction of VLDL here in this particular defect, the production of VLDL is excess. Now, type 5 is another where it is known as familial hyperlipoproteinemia is also associated with this type of blood picture where increased triglycerides but total cholesterol is within normal limits. Now these are the primary defects present where the enzymes or the receptors are defective. But there are secondary causes of this hyperlipidemia, very common. These are very common and often you have to encounter this type of problems, and so you should know what is the basics. Now in a diabetic mellitus person, always there is a lipid disorders, and these lipid disorders all means there is a chance of atherosclerosis. So why diabetes mellitus patients associated with the hyperlipidemia? They are mainly because the increased acetyl-CoA pool. Because the glucose is not being able to enter the cells has to get energy from mobilizing of excess of fat, and this excess of fat or pool of acetyl-CoA increased, which causes type of hyperlipidemia. Now, obstructive jaundice, where there is increase in lipid or hyperlipidemia because of low cholesterol excretion. Now, as I have told you, cholesterol earlier in the lipoprotein classes, the cholesterol can be excreted through the liver as cholesterol itself. And when the cholesterol cannot be excreted, or it can be also excreted in the form of bile, but when cholesterol cannot be excreted through the obstruction in the canaliculi, then the increase in the cholesterol and there will be backflow, so cholesterol amount will be increased in the blood and hypercholesteremia occurs. Hypothyroidism, in this case, HDL receptors, that means ApoA1 is not produced sufficiently in the liver. So less ApoA1 means less HDL. So less HDL means less liver cholesterol transport. So cholesterol amount in the peripheral tissues is again increased and hyperlipidemia. In case of nephrotic syndrome, it's interesting, that is associated with increased excretion of albumin through the urine. So all the albumin are excreted. So what happens to maintain the homeostatic balance, to oncotic balance, the liver produce any other proteins present as a compensatory mechanism. So all the apolipoproteins are here produced, and this causes increased lipoproteinemia. It's very interesting. And type 4 is the autosomal dominant that I have already discussed here. Now, the secondary hyperlipidemia may be of two types, like type 2A or type 3, like broad beta disease. Now, type 2A associated with CHD, chronic heart disease, hypothyroidism, diabetes mellitus, nephritis, etc., as well as cholestatic jaundice. In case of broad beta disease, similar to the broad beta disease, it occurs also in the heart disease, type 2 diabetes mellitus, obesity, and chronic alcoholism. So these are the secondary causes are more common than the primary one, and you always have to look forward whether there is any hyperlipidemia in these patients. Next, please. Now, there are some minor causes of lipoproteinemias, out of which one I have already told you is the LPA excess. When present, it is there in any person. It is always associated with hyperlipidemia, and lipoproteinemias are very rare in that case, is not that way severe also. So you just go through and you should be acquainted with the type of different disease. Next, please. It is important to understand about a little bit of atherosclerotic mechanisms. Now, atherosclerosis is a process of accumulation of lipid in the blood vessels. Now, how lipids are accumulated in the blood? It is because when there is excess of LDL cholesterol in the peripheral cells, this excess of LDL is mainly taken up by the macrophages. The macrophages have different scavenging receptors. Like B100 receptor, they have several scavenging receptors too. And these scavenging receptors scavenge. The scavenge means they just clear the LDL because LDL excess is not required. And in this process, the macrophages are swollen. They have taken out the lipids. Now, these macrophages enter through the endothelium into the intracellular matrix, and thereby they accumulate themselves, and they ultimately forms giant cells by attaching each other, and ultimately there are different proteins and fiber tissues, fibroblasts are deposited. So the initial stage where these macrophages are deposited inside the endothelium causes atherosclerosis, and this atherosclerosis ultimately stabilized and give rise to the narrowing of the blood vessels, causing ischemia. Ischemia means the lack of blood supply to the tissues, the peripheral tissues like heart and brain, because of the lack of blood supply can be damaged any time in the process. So the atherosclerosis is a situation where you have to take care of the lipid metabolism, and you have to lower the levels of the lipids when it is excess in certain persons or due to consequence of certain disease. Next, please. Now, so what we have to do, we have to measure, know the conditions, whether the patient is suffering from atherosclerosis or not. So that's why we have certain lipid parameters always required to be measured. Lipid profile is a misnomer. Profile is a commercial term. So test for lipid parameters is the ideal way to describing. So what are the different types of lipids we measure in the blood? Total cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, and VLDL cholesterol. They have reference ranges that is usually present in the control populations, normal control populations. So total cholesterol is usually 150 to 200 milligram per deciliter. The triacylglycerol is usually 70 to 165 milligram per deciliter. It varies to different books that usually every laboratory has its own standard, and accordingly you have to know what is the reference range for your particular laboratory. HDL cholesterol is 40 to 60 milligram per deciliter. Now, in case of LDL, it is 70 to 130 milligram per deciliter, and VLDL 25 to 50 milligram per deciliter. This is the test parameters which are commonly done in almost all suspected cases of lipid disorders. As I have told you, the excess LDL always signifies the person suffering from excess cholesterol or excess LDL or excess triglycerides, suffering from hypercholesterolemia. HDL increase is rather a good sign, but not always. Anyway, now there are some ratios which are also very important to be measured, like LDL HDL ratio. That should not be less than 2.5. Less than 2.5 indicates atherosclerosis. Total cholesterol HDL ratio also sometimes considered. It should not be less than 3.5. And lipoprotein measurement is again replaced by the direct apolipoprotein measurements. That is sometimes was very required in some group of people, population. It has been conducted and routinely done, but this is more costly. Anyway, apolipoprotein A1 levels, apolipoprotein B levels, B100 levels, as well as LPA, the small a levels are very important to judge if their ratio is also apolipoprotein A1 to B ratio is also an important indicator, as well as presence of LPA, small a. Now, recently there are some other parameters which are coming up, like ApoE variants. That has to be seen whether this is ApoE variants 3, then these are most likely to be associated with atherosclerosis. Further, newer diagnostic tools, newer diagnostic things coming as LDL particle size. It is not always that LDL increase is detrimental or LDL normal is okay, but depends on the particle size. Though this is not standardized so far and now routinely not done in our laboratories. So data regarding apolipoproteins and these LDL particle are not standardized, so not done nowadays routinely in all the laboratories. But lipid parameters is very important test and has to be conducted. How it is to be conducted, that is also important to know, because when you are going to advise the patients of conducting a lipid parameters test, you have to know how to advise, what are the things you have to advise, how the patient should take their diets in the last 3 days. So that I'll discuss in a class where I'll just tell about the outline of the measurements of the lipid parameters. So once again, I'm going to give you a risk factors for CAD, how we calculate different risk factors for CAD. That is always better if you can go through, like serum level, serum total cholesterol level, as I have told you, gives some risks more than 220, moderate risk, and 240 is a increased risk. LDL more than 130 is moderate risk, more than 160 is definite risk. HDL should not be less than 35 milligram. It is increased risk. Total cholesterol, it should not be more than total cholesterol HDL ratio should not be more than 3.5. If it is 3.5, it is increased risk. Like LDL HDL ratio, if it is more than 2.5, there is definite risk of development of atherosclerosis. APOA1, if it is low, then this is the most reliable indicator. It is a moderate, definite risk of atherosclerosis. LPA, small a, if it is present, then definitely it's a high risk. Now serum triglyceride, if it is more than 200 milligram, it's also a risk. Along with the cigarette smoking is very important risk for atherosclerosis, diabetes mellitus itself, patients suffering from diabetes mellitus, hypertension, secondary different sedentary habit, obesity. Now these are also risk for development of atherosclerosis. Serum homocysteine level associated with the atherosclerosis, as well as C-reactive protein level. So these are the risk factor. We can clinical and biochemical parameters gives an idea of how the patient is having, whether there is any risk of atherosclerosis or not. If we found any risk, we have to definitely treat. Are important for all of you to know how to conduct the lipid tests and what is the conclusion you will draw from that group of tests you are advising. Thank you very much for sound listening.